And I'm going to call the Committee of Government Operations to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Kniezek,
Here.
Commissioner Clark-Coleman,
Here.
Commissioner Basham,
Here.
Commissioner Killeen, Chair Dobb,
Here.
you have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item.
B, Chairwoman's remarks.
Okay, I have none. Next item.
C, approval of the January 26, 2022 meeting minutes.
Can I get a motion for approval?
So move, Madam Chair.
Would
Support.
anyone support? Okay, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor, or I'm sorry, is there any discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Next item.
Just for the record, Commissioner Killeen has just joined the meeting.
Okay, great. Welcome, Commissioner Killeen.
D, unfinished business. There is none listed.
Next item.
Item 1, under new business, communication from Donna Wilson, Director of Personnel, Human Resources Department, forwarding a report on the succession plan for senior appointee positions.
Okay, we'll take items 1 and 2, and then we'll do a motion for recommendation. So item number 1 is Donna Wilson here today?
Yes, I'm on the line.
Hi, Ms. Wilson. Could you just give us a brief explanation of the letter that we received for the succession plan?
Yes, and it's part of the budget instructions that we are to report to the commission periodically on information on succession planning. And so this was just a summary of where we are to date on looking at the county succession planning.
Okay, so what we received was just a summary, but is there an actual plan of people who are identified as like people who would go into certain roles?
Not that people specifically, where the county is identifying those key positions, either leadership or special expertise, that we do need to have a succession plan for. And so we are looking at those positions also with leadership, tying it to the leadership academies that we've done with Wayne State.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions from commissioners on item number 1? Okay, hearing none, we will thank you, Ms. Wilson. We'll
Thank
move
you.
on to item number 2.
Item 2, requesting commission approval of Amendment 5 to a 2-year legal services agreement with the 1-year option to renew with the Mike Cox Law Firm.
All right, do we have any questions on this item? Commissioner Basham?
Well, Madam Chair, first of all, is this item retroactive or not? It appears to be. It doesn't mention it, but it appears to be.
Through the chair, this is Joe Slezak. We are not we didn't label it as retroactive because services have not been rendered since December 2nd of 2021, and it is still below the $435,000 limit.
And if I may, Madam Chair, this thing has been going on and on and on, and so this is this another extension, or is this another extension and an increase?
Through the chair, Madam Chair, this is Sue Hammoud, Deputy Corporation Counsel. I believe there's somebody from the Cox Law Firm on here as well. But no, this is just to extend the time, Commissioner Basham. We are not in requesting an increase in the amount of the contract.
Okay, because originally it's been extended a number of times. One time I voted against it as a budget increase. The last time I supported it because there was no budget increase, extended the time. So this is extending the time again with no budget increase, correct?
That is correct. Kimberly, are you from?
Yes, I just wanted to, I'm Kimberly Maley with the Mike Cox Law Firm. I just wanted to confirm what you said, that it is just an extension to extend the contract.
Are you all set, Commissioner Basham?
Yes.
Kimberly, is there an expected date of conclusion for this matter?
So kind of. So right now, the ball is in the court of the Department of Justice, and the plan is it's in our best interest to stay silent longer, because these issues that are going on are going to be disappearing once the new jail opens. So really right now, it's kind of just staying the course and not rocking the boat, and responding to anything that the Department of Justice puts forth, which as of right now, they haven't.
Okay, so this should conclude once the new jail is open.
That is my understanding.
Okay. Commissioner Colleen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would like, not in gory detail at all, just to be reminded of what the issue is that's before the court in this case.
Well, Kimberly, I'm going to let you respond. I'm sorry, again, Sue Hammoud, Deputy Corporation Counsel. I'm going to let Kimberly respond, but with all due respect to the commission, this is an ongoing investigation and this is a public meeting. So to the extent that there is any confidential information, we would not be at liberty to disclose it at this meeting, Commissioner.
Yeah, Ms. Hammoud, that was a Corporation Counsel. That was why I phrased the question the way I did. I don't want to get into the details here, but I don't believe it's a secret what the legal issue is that's involved. But I just want to know again, it's about the jail, just a brief description about why we're in court, not all the details.
So go ahead. So to very briefly give a description of this, it's the Department of Justice investigation into the operations that are currently occurring at the Wayne County Jail in regards to the care and keeping of the inmates there.
Correct.
So what's the title of the case then? Is this the United States versus Wayne County? What is this?
Through the chair, this is Assistant Corporation Counsel Linda Pente. I've been working on the DOJ investigation since its inception. It's not a formal case. It is a formal investigation by the Department of Justice. It is related to the medical and mental health services that are being provided at the jail. So it's just limited right now to the services operations, and it does not involve the physical limitations associated with the facility. So that was established early on in the investigation.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing that as a reminder, because I hate when we come on and we keep saying, well, you know, something about this case and extending this case, and we don't give just the general outline each time of what the case is. And I had forgotten, yes, it was around our procedures in the jail. So thank you for that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions on item number 2? Hearing none, could I get a motion for recommendation on items number 1 and 2, please?
Move to recommend items 1 and 2 to the full board.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Kniezek,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Coleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Basham,
Yes.
Commissioner Colleen,
Aye.
Chair Dobb,
Yes. All right, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. And now, Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 3, an update from Huey Newsom, County Chief Financial Officer on the Enterprise Resource Planning System.
Okay, and I believe everyone, all the commissioners on the committee should have received a summary report. And did the clerk receive the presentation as well?
I have not received the presentation.
I'll forward it to you, Sherelle.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Is Mr. Newsom here?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm on the line, ready when you all are. And I apologize to the clerk that you did not get a copy.
I'll just give her a minute to get the presentation up. And then commission staff, could you also forward that presentation and report to all of the commissioners?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I assume you're waiting for people to get the report or something. So I just want to take a little dead air time here on others. Mr. Newsom, thank you for sending this to me as a member of the committee. But I do want to say to maybe commission staff, we have to have a roadmap for the executive branch to follow in terms of who they send these reports to before the meeting. There was one yesterday that went to one commissioner for Health and Human Services and a bunch of staff and nobody else, and commissioners never got that report. And the Auditor General was left off that, and that involved some issues she's interested in. So I want to suggest that we give a roadmap to administration. I am sick and tired of coming to meetings and not having reports. And every time reports get sent, they get sent a different way to different people. I think we need to say here, when you send a report down, we want it before the meeting, and these are all the people it goes to. And I agree, Commissioner Dobb, that Madam Chair, that this came to committee members and didn't go to the whole commission. I think we as a county commission need to give better guidance to the administration and say, this is how we want to get these reports. I find it very difficult to do my job when I get reports after meetings, and sometimes 2 or 3 days when the meeting itself was, the agenda was to discuss that report. So since we had a little dead time, I'll leave it there. Thanks, Madam Chair. Sorry.
Commissioner Bash.
Thank you. I did get my report an hour ago. And it's hard to get a report and find out you just got it and you got it an hour ago, and to be informed enough to raise questions or support the issue when it comes to committee. So I sort of echo what Commissioner Kling is saying. Thank you.
Sherelle, you should have the report.
And if it's a
Okay, I'm
problem,
waiting
I
for it to
can,
come to my email. It hasn't popped up yet.
yeah, I can also share it on my screen if that's better in the interest of time.
If you could, yeah, that would be better. Thank you.
All right, I'll bring it up now. Sorry to have it. Okay, so let me know if you all can't see my screen.
It's coming up right now. Okay, we can see it.
Excellent. And again, I apologize, you all, the members of the committee all have this presentation. I will make sure that the OAG as well as the other members of the commission receive this as well. So if you recall, we gave a report out on this project back in October. And now I did commit to providing regular updates on this project. On administration committed to providing regular updates on this project after, on a going forward basis. And so what we want to talk about today, what I want to do here is kind of reset where we were the last time we talked and talk about, what's changed. And then from there, talk about what we've accomplished. And so just to start off, and again, I'm not sure if commissioners remember, all the details. I know we talked a lot about, the fact that we ended our relationship with Cherry Road back in July, went through a few settlement issues in terms of making sure that the right amount of owed money was paid out to Cherry Road. Excuse me. That was all taken care of back at the end of 2021. What I did tell you also is that we were going to bring in a third party to come in to assess our ability to move to Oracle Cloud. And that has been completed to a certain point. The assessment that has been completed, and you all have a copy, about a 100-page document. That assessment looks at what some of the things we learned in terms of the HCM implementation. So just so we're clear, you'll see in the document HCM and ERP. I want to be very clear what the difference is. HCM, Human Capital Management, is really your payroll module, your benefits module, your HR module. So that's what we use to pay people to take care of our employees, take care of our retirees. And then on top of that, ERP is the core financials solution where budget sits, where our accounting sits. It's the heart of, it's the true ERP, the financials and accounting, as well as purchase orders and purchasing. And I'm sure I'm leaving other functionality off, but the true ERP, when you see ERP, sometimes we use it collectively, and sometimes we use very specific for the finance and accounting capability of the system. Okay, so we ended that contract, as we talked about. I'll give you the final dollar amount in a minute. And then we have completed a portion of what we said we were going to do. We said we were going to do HCM and ERP health check, but what we decided was, because of the amount of cost versus the true benefit of doing ERP. Remember, HCM we were close, we were into testing for HCM. We focused on instead just going forward with the HCM health check, because at that point we felt that ERP was a little further behind. A lot of lessons learned for HCM will be usable as we think about ERP. Okay, so that assessment's done. You have that report. I'll make sure that the OAG has that report as well. And then we also said that we were going to go work and bring in Oracle Consulting Services as the premier consulting service, obviously, for an Oracle solution. And so we engaged Oracle through the assessment process. We talked about what that implementation would look like. And at this point, even though I still think that there is a potential to bring them in, direct, as in as a contractor or a sole source, we're also exploring whether or not that would be beneficial to the county, because at this point, Oracle is telling us that it would take almost a year after post-assessment to get this project done, at least at the HCM portion. We feel that we're closer than a year away from being able to get HCM up and running. So we wanted to make sure that we challenge that as best we can, vet as best we can before we go forward, and with a recommendation that for Oracle to be the implementer. So one thing we're looking, sorry, go ahead, question.
Before I get too lost in this presentation, can you clarify the difference between HCM and Oracle?
Okay, so HCM is a module that's a part of the entire Oracle solution. So Oracle is a system. Oracle Consulting Services is a consulting service that helps counties, cities, municipalities, companies implement the system. So, and I'm glad you asked this question, because it's very important for you to be able to discern. So when you say Oracle Consulting Services, we mean the people that do the implementation, the consultants. The system itself is still called Oracle Cloud. And so that's I want to make sure that you're, and so if you think about it from that perspective, you can understand why it would make sense for us to engage directly with Oracle Consulting to implement an Oracle solution or an Oracle system. Does that help?
HCM is a module of Oracle systems.
Yes, that is correct. It's human capital management, and that's where you run payroll, you manage your employee benefits, your retiree benefits on human capital management, which is HCM.
Okay, and you're deciding right now whether to use Oracle as a consulting service or
Correct.
do it
for the implementation.
Implementation.
For the implementation. Right,
Okay.
that is correct. So to sit down with us, configure, do the requirements, execute the testing. That's what we're talking about now. One of the two, and that's a great segue. I'm going to skip ahead to this slide because I want to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. So Oracle could serve this function here, which is the implementation of the system. So the configuration, the data conversion that's necessary, the execution of the testing, sitting down with us and doing the testing. When you look at the PMO though, there are two major players that help us when we do this. The PMO, or the Program Management Office, that vendor is set up to be a representative of the county to coordinate the process of getting the system up and running. So you have, if you think about the PMO, I think about the PMO as like a drum major. A drum major that's responsible for coordinating all the necessary pieces to get this done. And so right now we are in the final stages of bringing to you all a recommendation on who the PMO is going to be. So remember, before, Mad Dog and Loretta Roundtree, as well as DCG, made up the PMO office, right? So that was this box here. And so what we're going to be bringing to you, hopefully in either the next GovOps or the GovOps after that, we'll be bringing forth the recommendation to replace Mad Dog and Loretta Roundtree, because we've internalized that function. Nell Bosick has done a great job of being the program director in the interim while we move to this new organization. Does that help?
Yes.
And please, and please ask questions. I know this is, again, we live this every day. This is, uber important to us. And it's, it's very fundamental to everything that we do. But I know you all live this life like we live it. So it's not the easiest thing in the world. So,
Commissioners, if you have any questions during the presentation, either raise your hands or just unmute and ask.
Please do.
There's a lot of things that like non-technical people don't understand and hear lots of letters and PMO, HCMs. So, all right, thank you, Huey.
Not a problem. So what I wanted to also just again, this is for reference. These are the things that we've done since July, right? And we accomplished the CRT separation. We've transitioned on an interim basis while we moved from the old organization to the new organization. We transitioned the leadership for the interim phase to the county leadership team has taken on a larger role, because we've been moving from the program management office function from before to what we're going to recommend as a new PMO. So in addition to that, again, we've also finished the health check, and right now we're in the process of finalizing a recommendation of who will serve as the PMO, and then soon we'll be working on the implementer. When you see SI here, that system implementer RFP. So that is in the works as we speak. So what we want, one thing that we want to, I think the biggest thing here is the STAR. So that is where we've come. And this slide is showing you what we're trying to do on a go forward basis. And so our game plan is to get the RFP for the implementer out very soon. And then after that, by mid-April, have the selection process happen. And again, we're still vetting Oracle Consulting Services as a potential way to make this work. Again, if they're going to, if we're saying 44 weeks to get HCM up and running, that's a full year. We want to make sure that if that's the case, we want to vet that as much as we can. But our goal is to restart the project with the implementer on board, the PMO on board by the beginning of May-ish, so that we can be up and running and get go live as quickly as possible, get to go live as quickly as possible. I don't want to go through these in detail, but this is really a summary. I want to get to the accomplishments now and what has happened since we last talked. So these are kind of a summary, or an executive summary, if you will, of what that HCM health check that you have, what it, the recommendations that are coming from it. So the assessment looked at what had been accomplished to date, the organization that was focused on the ERP, the actual project organization for the ERP project, and as well as, excuse me, as well as the the employees that are focused, that are subject matter experts, that are the users, if you will, of the system, of the new system, and what it will take to make them to get us to a point, looking at the user body, looking at subject matter experts such as myself, leadership team, and also looking at what a new project team would have to do, assessing what happened, with the previous project execution, and then looking at recommendations for us to address some of the things that did not go well. And so what you have here is kind of a executive summary of what those recommendations look like. Again, I don't want to go through these in detail. I think, for someone that's eye deep into this implementation, these will make a lot of sense, but they're somewhat technical in nature. But I want you to know that they exist, they're out there, and it's something that we plan to put in place as we continue project execution. The other thing I think is important, one of the things that if you recall that did not go well, was the fact that we continue to have what's called requirements. So if you think about, I use construction as an analogy. You sit and design a building. You have blueprints for the building, and you go to build the building. A system implementation is similar in a sense that you have business requirements, technical configurations. If you go and you say, I don't want that bathroom in this floor, I don't want this I don't want this lobby over here, and you change as you're starting construction, that's a problem. But in system implementations, you do have requirements change, just like you have change orders in construction. In this situation, what we wanted to do, in lieu of having a system implementer, really wanted to sit down and look, at least from an HCM perspective, what our requirements look like. Can we, do we need to revisit those while we're in a pause? I'm gonna use quotes, pause, and make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of what requirements look like. So we sat down with each major process area: time and labor, benefits management, absence management, core HR, as you can see, all the owners of these processes, and sat down and said, look, this is, Pierce Monroe, who had been working on the future state the future state process definition, sat with each of these areas and said, look, this is the design of how this is going to work in the new system. Where are we? Do you agree that this will meet your business needs? And you see the results of that. One is still in process. We're still waiting for that. I expect that to be final, sometime, within the next week. But the real gist of this is to show that, again, while we're waiting for the system implementer to be determined, or we're waiting for the PMO to be selected, we are still working through to address some of our initial concerns about what went wrong with the previous project organization, and then address those as much as we can. So this is a very important slide here. I want to, reset where we were last time we talked and then talk about where we've gone. So since we last talked, we had spent $16 million. We only spent 1.8 million since then. And the bulk of that obviously was to go ahead and exit, finish out what was owed on the Oracle the Cherry Road contract. You notice it went from 7.3 to 8.5. We were in the process of getting a final number for this. I had I kind of conservatively said 9 on the record, ended up being 8.5. So that's the bulk of this spend. That 1.1 million from here to here is the bulk of what we spent since we last spoke. Again, we've been more in a phase of let's figure out what we're doing before we go into go back to an implementer, go into implementation, and make sure that we're being very careful with our time and with our money. So I can't see hands because I'm showing my screen. So if there are any questions, please someone let me know.
I don't see any.
So that is the presentation. Again, it's meant to be a status update over the next, between hopefully next GovOps, if not then the following GovOps, and sometime late April, mid to late April, you will see 2 recommendations, one for the PMO to help, like I said, drum major this, and then another for the system implementer to replace Cherry Road. So that's what's coming next on the horizon. And then after that, as my earlier commitment, I will continue to give you status updates on where we are and where the spend is and where we're going.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Colleen has a question.
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and maybe more than one. Again, Mr. Newsom, thanks for sending this to us, and I also want to thank you for not going through the 110 pages. Well, yeah, I mean, this is this is like a planning document that you would have with your team, right? I'm looking at oversight, so a lot of the details. There was some discussion a few months back about the cost here, and some scary numbers were thrown out in terms of the pause, and you seem to indicate that those numbers aren't that scary. I believe the original estimate for this, and we have to do this, right? I'm fully in support. We have to do this. We got to get our bookkeeping and record keeping out of 1965.
Yes.
So I think the original estimate was somewhere around 35 million to do this.
Before, yes, the original estimate back when, right. And I came with a larger number.
And then we started to, it's going to be 55 or something now.
Right.
Where do you think we're at? I mean, you gave us in between numbers. Where do you think we're at for a total? I'm not holding you to it. I'm just saying where we.
Yeah, I don't see enough yet. And while this conversation is happening, literally, we're doing everything we can to push back on our and work the number down. So the number I gave before, and I'm hesitant to repeat it. The number I gave before, I think, is going to be it's going to be within that ballpark.
Right.
It's going to be within that ballpark. But again, because we're actively negotiating with a potential PMO contractor, and we will be in negotiations with an implementer, I'm hesitant to float numbers out there because you see what we're spending now. You can do the math in terms of what we're expecting. So I want to be careful what I put out there.
And I'm good with that, right? But I think in your reporting, in future reports, and I know you can't always project these things, but just some kind of number. And personally, I wouldn't hold you to it. If the project has a year to go, lots can happen in a year. But just somewhere where we're at. I also want to go back to that timeline, which I think was the second or third revised timeline.
Yeah, let me put my screen up so everybody can see it. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
You want the revised timeline, Commissioner?
Yeah. So the goal, the orange star is the end of the pause, right?
That's correct.
That is when you're thinking in another month or two, we're going to have all these issues, Oracle, all that kind of stuff, and we're going to be ready to start again in, let's say, early May, maybe.
That's the game plan.
Right. That's what I said, maybe. I know. Believe you me, I want to thank you for coming here and taking hold of this. From the reporting, I do get a real sense of what a rat's nest this has been to unsnarl, when you have to let a company go, evaluate what they're doing. None of this is easy, and I want to thank you, Mr. Newsome, for heading this up. However, on that timeline, it only goes out to April of 23.
That's correct.
Is the revised timeline telling me that the whole thing should be complete? Maybe, perhaps, with all of the appropriate, somewhere around the summer of 23?
I would say there is a possibility. So, but I want to be very careful here too, because again, we don't have an implementer, so I can't commit an implementer to that.
I'm not asking you to do that, but
if I were setting expectations, I'm sorry, but if I were setting expectations, I'd say we'd at least have payroll up by the summer of 23.
Yeah, and the only reason I raise it, Mr. Newsome, is you give us a chart. The last thing on the chart is April of 23, which could lead one to assume it'll be done by 23.
That's fair.
If you just pick this up and read it without, so I don't know how we want to do that, but I don't want to send any false signals either, right?
Donna, I'm glad you asked for a clarification. The intent was to show that the project continues through this, through them, but there is no true end date that's shown. And that's the reason for that. But again, I'm glad you asked so I can clarify the intent and the expectation.
Because when you first pick it up, that's the way it reads. Hey, by April of 23, we're all done. The new thing is here, and that's not quite the case.
That's not quite.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioners have any questions or discussion on the presentation? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Newsome, so much for this update. And we will definitely be in touch for future updates on this implementation.
Sounds good. And we will work it out where everybody, all the commissioners receive this as well as the OAG.
Yes, thank you.
Not a problem.
All right, Madam Clerk, next item, please.
If such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Okay, I have none. Next item.
Public comments.
Okay, did we receive any emails?
No emails.
Okay, could you unmute all of the lines?
The lines have been unmuted.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to make a public comment? You can just go ahead. Anyone wish to make a public comment today? And last call for public comments. All right, hearing none, next item.
Adjournment.
Any motion to adjourn?
So move, Madam Chair.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Hey, TK.
Thank you. You too.